So let's say you found a skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on that.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dapper Reacts. I am here with Vishanti, which is sort of the default for this show, although it did actually start with just me. But Vishanti very quickly became my default co-host for these, and Kip is not among us today. So that is not him down in the middle spot. That is just pre-recorded gameplay. I am not currently playing the game, although it was cute that Kip thought that same footage was actually me playing the game at one point. And it just never occurred to him that I never encountered a loading screen, ever, in the entire gameplay. Which would be pretty amazing. Yeah, no, Kip would not know about loading screens. So let me know if there's any like weird audio level stuff, because apparently that has been all over the place, and my computer has been like doing weird stuff, like giving me audio feedback of what I'm saying, and like I don't know why. So whatever. So we are picking up in sort of in media res of this video, right? And that's because earlier this month on a Tuesday, Maddie couldn't make it for Maddie with Maddie, so I roped in Vishanti to do an extra stream, and we covered the first, well, I want to say we covered the first 22.5 minutes of this video, but that's not true, because the first like 15 minutes of it was just Dan Biddle alternating between like advertising his website and like just telling you how super serially you should take him. It was weird, but eventually we got to the Bible talks about giants, and some of the sites, some of the Bible verses that he cited, it didn't, right? Some of those it just didn't. Some of them it did, but also it was just the reports of people who were trying to convince the protagonists of the book not to go invade the Holy Land. And so they were like, oh no, everyone was giant and we were tiny and we shouldn't go invade them. And it's like very clearly hyperbolic language in like to fearmonger. And so like taking that as evidence of the literal existence of giants is, it's a little weird. I'll say that. It's a little weird. It's not the choice I would make personally. And so we had a little bit of a crash out about that. And so Dan is here going to be telling us about the Bible's case for giants and how he's interpreting these things. And this is all in the context of Dan having bought into the conspiracy theory that there used to be a race of giants living in North America who were the people who built the earthen mounds that are dotted across large sections of North America. Basically, any place west of the eastern seaboard, there's a fair chance you're going to be able to find various mounds and earthenworks, some of which are burial mounds, some of which are actually like the locations of cities, some of which, well, I guess the former locations of cities, obviously. Some of them represent ritual sites that were used for various ritual purposes. Some of them also seem to be like used for like calendar calibration or astronomical like sighting purposes, because, you know, knowing when to plant your crops is important. And yes, to people like Dan Biddle, the inhabitants of North America pre-European colonization did in fact have agriculture. They weren't just all hunter-gatherers. Not that there aren't hunter-gatherers in the New World. There still are, right? But like that is not how you would characterize all of those groups who lived here before Europeans showed up. So, yeah. Now, we know from archaeology and just from like basic looking around and even minimal historical literacy that the people who built these earthworks were the Native Americans, who either live there now or who have been displaced to other locations, but we know where they came from, and it's those places, right? Those are the people who did that. We have remains from the mounds. They're not of unusual size. We have their, you know, cultural stories going back to these places. Like, this isn't a question that we have to ask. We know who built the mounds. It was the Native Americans, who weren't giants, although among whom you could find tall people, because, you know, that's a thing that happens. And one of my favorite things is when people are like, they found this giant skeleton. It's like, wow, how tall was it? 7 feet. It's like, well, that's just an NBA player. They're tall, but like, do we really want to say they're like a separate species of giant that is separate from Homo sapiens? I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that the current NBA players are inhuman monsters. So yeah, so that's basically where we are. Oh, and also the Smithsonian has been hiding that they have giant skeletons. And Dan Biddle's evidence for this was that, according to him, they said so in an ethnography report from 1890, which I just checked. And no, it didn't say that. It didn't say that anywhere. So let's see. We've got a few super chats to get through and at least one membership milestone chat. Let's see. The Screen Geek for €5 says, "I'm here to get get Dapper into his human suit and make fun of Kip. Let's go Godzilla. And also hit like to avoid that Hobbit." That's true. Hit like and you won't be Bilbo'd. So there is our first drink.
Great.
Then for $5, Native Atheist says, a big hello with a wave and a smiley face. Well, hello to you too. And then light.
I want to read this one.
Sorry, go ahead.
Mr. Krabs' genome sequence.
And that is from Light in the Ignorance, who's been a member for 5 months and is at the Tetchpod level. Thank you very much. Okay. So, let's see. Vish, how are you?
I mean, outside the migraine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
I did finish most of a Cold and Dre Moxor for this year, and I was going really hard on including non-theistic alternate readings whenever possible, because not everybody in the room is comfortable with God language or even King sovereign language. So try to make those available where possible so people can participate more fully and have some options. So I'm pretty proud of that.
Now, I gotta say, of the biblical languages, Hebrew, pre-Yiddish, and Greek, which one is Kol Nidre? Is that prayer in?
Hebrew.
Wait, I thought it was in Aramaic.
Nope.
Huh. But it's not in pre-Yiddish?
I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not Aramaic.
You know what? It's
like,
not
we
like
do
I would
have
know.
quite a few prayers that are in Aramaic, like Kaddish. That's in Aramaic for sure.
Let's see. Lightning English says, "My milestone was supposed to have a Mothra for a drink. I will accept that as canon, and I will take a drink for Mothra."
Cool.
Medigeek Platypus Librarian for $2 says, "He discriminates against short monsters with a Carmen, who is an honorary kaiju, and so we will take a drink."
Yes, puppy.
By the way, Carmen is doing a whole lot better. She has all of her energy back, if not more than normal. The inflammation has gone way down. The swelling has gone way down. And basically, she is out of her cone. And we are still applying a topical anti-inflammatory about twice a day. And it looks like that's probably going to be unnecessary after like the next few days. So there is the update there. Sapphire Plushy Sorceress Life for $2 says, "Hail human rights, purge ignorance, pet the kaiju." Thank you very much, and I will pet the kaiju when she is around. I think she's in the other room taking a nap on a desk chair that doesn't work for humans, but works perfectly fine for tiny little dogs. Because, like, you know, the thing that like keeps the chair from like just falling at all sorts of weird angles, that thing is broken. But the dogs are small enough that it doesn't matter because they can't really overbalance it, and it's like resting against the wall to stabilize it a little bit. So that has become the dog's little perch there. They'll go up there and
I have a kitty curled up and napping within my visual range across from me, so that's good.
Well, I also figured I'd give
I know Grace says that I'm very loud. I don't know if that's true for everyone else.
I actually have you as, like, objectively, when I'm looking at my volume levels, you're actually fairly low.
Weird.
Well, if other people are having
what's going on there.
If other people are having that experience, I will turn Vish down. Just let me know. Update on this end. I am not currently experiencing a headache like I was last time I went live, which made it hard to read and hard to concentrate. So that's a plus. Also, I think I've mostly recovered from this week of horribleness, which included having to give an interview about someone whose mother was kidnapped and later more or less tortured. Certainly things that would violate the Geneva Convention if she were a prisoner of war happened to her. And if you are unaware of that story, not right now, but perhaps after this, I would suggest that you go check out the Bring My Mom Home video that is on my channel, and then visit the website, or just watch it from the website. And do what you can. If you are in the US, write representatives, write your senator. If you are outside of the US, you can still share it around. Also share it around even if you are in the US, because yeah, I would prefer that this particular woman not continue to be held in a cage where she is not able to access things that are, basic necessities for human existence. Yep. So there we go.
The United States really loves putting people in detention in cages,
It really does.
especially if they're not white.
Which actually, under most definitions, I would say that she probably is white. I mean, Russians usually get counted as white, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, she's Russian.
Unless you're in certain parts of Europe, and then if you're Slavic, you're not.
Yeah, but
on
the
the same
US
levels.
usually... So the US really does like to go by phenotype at this point, and most Russian people look white, so... that was less the case back when the US was still heavily discriminating against, like, the Irish or the Italians.
I was going to say that there are quite a lot of Asian Russians, because
Well, this
obviously.
person is not from Eastern Russia. This is someone who was clearly from Western Russia. Who is one of the ethnically Russian Russians, as opposed to the simply Russian because of the expansion of the Russian Empire. Yeah. Roshner from 199 says, if you have a kitty, stare at kitty, get healed. You know what? You could try the healing powers of kitty. So the...
I did ask her to lay on my head and purr.
Did she oblige?
No.
Oh. Yes, by the way, the super chat goal is that if you guys get us to 20 super chats, by the end of this, I will go put on my human suit. It'll take me a few seconds. And you have to see me in the human suit. And also, we'll be unleashed, so we can drop as many F-bombs as we want, instead of, Vishanti having to sneak them in. Let's see.
So, you'll put on your human suit like you're wearing right now?
No, I'm not wearing my human suit right now.
You are in Discord?
That's not true. Why would you lie to them like that? I'm clearly here in my natural dinosaur form, as everyone can see on stream, where I'm on camera as a dinosaur.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, I think that is everything that is preliminary that I want to get out of the way, so we can finally hit play on this.
So there's 4 different main theories of how people deal with this Nephilim or angel topic. We take the fallen angel hybrid perspective, which is the one that's described to in Tim Chapey's book also.
Okay. There is a thing about this slide. The bottom option is the ancient alien theory is popular in fringe circles. And
my dude, he is the fringe circle.
Right. You were already in a fringe circle because you think that there were giants in North America whose existence is being covered up by a conspiracy at the Smithsonian. And you started off this talk in our previous episode saying, now, I don't want to come off as a conspiracy theorist. And then you said that the Smithsonian is engaged in a vast conspiracy to hide the existence of North American giants. We're at the fringe. There's not a whole lot more fringe you can get besides just going full flurf. Right? Ancient Aliens is not actually crazier than there were fallen angel hybrids in North America building earthworks. Those are equally fringe. Sure, there are different parts of the fringe. I'll get you that, right? Like, that's fair. But, oh my God, it's like when the Real Science Radio guys were, like, complaining about Professor Dave's explanation of, like, different levels of creationism, science denial. And he was like, there's theistic evolutionists who basically just don't deny any science, and so they're fine. And then he lists a bunch of other kinds of creationists, and he's like, young Earth creationists are basically next to the bottom because only flat earthers deny more of reality than young Earth creationists.
Mhm.
And the real science radio guys are like, well, actually, we would contend that we're the closest to science. It's like, yeah, obviously, of course you would, because you're young Earth creationists. But from an
Young Earth
objective
creationists.
standpoint, no, you're almost as bad as the flat earthers. Victoria Macarios for
Mhm.
€2 says, all hail kaiju, big small dogs, Carmen emote. And we will take a drink for that Carmen emote. That was not possible because I'm pretty sure you're on mobile, which does not like emotes.
Yeah. I'm not super reading the chat very closely today because light and screens are
Yeah.
causing me some pain, and
Well, in
yeah.
that case, what that means is if you want to get my attention or Vishanti's attention, the absolute best way is obviously super chat because that forces our attention to it because it's bright and highlighted and everything. But if that is not what you want to have, like if you just don't want to pay, at least tag us so that way,
Yeah.
you know,
It pops out
it'll pop out a little bit.
visually.
Yeah. So if it's just in the sea of the chat, I'm not saying I won't read it, but I'm less likely to notice. All right. Oh, hey, Kip Davis is here in chat, but not here in the call. What a loser. But yeah, Peach Fuzz is in the house. All right, here we go.
And one that we summarize here in this very short version of it. Tim Chafee's book is about 5 times thicker than this one. This is just a quick overview. And if
Tim Chafee, by the way, is the guy you might know as Gigantor. He's the very, very tall man from the creation circles.
I closed the
Focuses-
blinds, so that will that will help with
Ah,
the light sensitivity a little bit, I think.
okay.
on the giant stuff in North America, but that's a perspective that we take. Here's Tim Chafee's book called Fallen, the Sons of God and the Nephilim.
It's just fanfic.
I got to be honest, I kind of want to read it. I kind of want to read it on
Okay.
stream.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind reading it on stream, but I'm not giving that dude money.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that I would love to cover, and I'm not giving the people who produce it money to do so. So, like, yeah, I don't know. But if anyone had a copy, you know, lying around, I could probably figure out a way for that to get to me, especially if you have like an ebook or a PDF copy. Yeah.
And I think if you read this book and you get to the end, for me, he really clinches the case for the fallen angels hybrid perspective. He goes over all the different views, but if you can read it through all the way to the end, I think he successfully closes the door on all the other positions. He does, at least for me.
No.
Okay, so here's the thing that bugs me about this, because I know what has the highest epistemic value for Dan Biddle, and it is biblical arguments that align with his tradition of hermeneutics, right? That's it. So that makes me actually less interested in reading this book, because now that I know that he finds this quote-unquote clinches the argument, I know what that means. It means that Tim Chafee makes the Bible arguments that he likes the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care about the Bible arguments. Like, if you're like, oh, the Bible says right here in Isaiah 12, right there, that, and it was the giants with the 6 fingers and the double rows of teeth and the red hair who lived in North America, who built the earthenworks, and who lived in that cave, who fought off the other group of Native Americans that now tell a story about it, even though the giant part of that story is actually made up. That's actually all the real stuff, and Dan Biddle is going to tell you about it here in the 2020s. If all that was actually in the text of Isaiah, I still wouldn't care. Actually, no, okay, at that point I would care. But, like, fundamentally, that something is in the Bible for this channel is not evidence of anything other than that it's in the Bible. And you could make the argument that it's an argument of, like, it shows you what some groups of people in the ancient past in this particular cultural context were thinking about the world. Sure, okay, fine. But, like, I don't care. If you tell me the Bible says that there were giants, that doesn't mean there were giants. It just means the Bible makes the claim. We don't have enough reason to think of the Bible as accurate enough to be an independent source of evidence for reality, because we know it's inaccurate in some places. Like, we know there wasn't really a Moses, at least not as depicted in Exodus, right? We know that if there was an Abraham, he was very little like any Abraham depicted in Genesis. We know there wasn't a Noah, anything like what's described in Genesis. Like, we know all these things. So I just don't care. Ian Kiambi for £5 says, "Hi Vishanti and Dapper Dinosaur. How was your week? How has your week been? Hopefully you're not mad by me asking that question." Well, first, no, I'm not mad. But like, it's been a weird week. I actually took most of it off because at the beginning of the week, I was dealing with a cluster of those cluster headaches, which is kind of the whole point. And also with being much more involved with a very particular and able to put a face on it story about ICE and their human rights abuses. So that combined, like that emotionally draining, and then those like physically excruciating experiences combined to basically mean that by Tuesday, I was just kind of falling apart, and so I took the rest of the week off. Basically, I made a Star Trek teaser trailer for next week, and I think that's the closest I got to work. So yeah.
Yeah, mine was weird. I had a few productive days, and then a few days where I was mostly not super productive for various reasons, and then I would have a small burst of productivity, and then yeah, there's like logistical things happening in the background that I'm having to contend with, and some of those are anxiety inducing, and then one particular incident happened really early in the morning a few days ago that just completely wrecked like a whole day of planning, and yeah, had to consider taking out a protective order against a person. So, not a fan of that.
All right. And I think that's why we hold to that position. So whatever you hold to, whatever idea you have about these fallen angels,
Dan, that white text intersects with actual white pixels. Okay. I'm gonna. When you're creating this image, Dan, you're working on multiple layers, or at least you should be, right? Don't just directly edit your main layer that has your image. So you have an extra layer for the text. It's fine to have white text. What you do is you have an extra layer between the main layer with the angel and the chains that looks like it might have been AI because I don't see what the heck's going on there. But between those layers, you have an extra layer. And what you do is you just add a black border around the text on that middle layer so that the white text shows up on top. And then you have the black outline that separates it so that I can read the words. Because I can get and the something ho kept there.
You can also add a partially transparent dark colored box behind the white text.
Also
then you can still see your little crappy angel graphic there and read the words. So those are both options you could do. You could even combine them. Contrast is a thing.
Also, I think the point is supposed to be this is a bound angel, like as like punishment from God or something. But that angel looks like a tree ornament angel, like the angel at the top of a Christmas tree, and it doesn't look like it's actually connected to any of the chains.
Yeah.
So like, this is
not good. I actually have a not funny, but ironic AI story this morning. I only hate follow one person, period. And it's because I'm going to debunk their work. I've already started the script on it, but they posted an AI generated series of slides to their social media where it's two academics arguing with each other, and he's putting his own arguments in the mouth of one academic that he's allegedly arguing with. And it's the piss yellow filter. It's just everything.
Oh.
And yeah, and I'm like, it literally looks like your screen has been dipped in pee, right? And when I called that out, I was like, wow, AI piss filter, slop, puke emoji. And this person, who's already notoriously bad at taking any criticism whatsoever for their work, obviously didn't like that comment. And they were like, well, I'm sorry, I didn't have the money to hire a bunch of professional actors and get professional lighting. And I'm like, that's your takeaway? That you just had to depict two people sitting in a library and your only options
The only one.
were hire professional actors and lighting crew or hit the water guzzling clanker.
Literally, take a stock picture of some books and put some thick line stick figures in front of it.
Yeah, or you can just use text. Speech bubbles. How did people survive on the internet before like 4 or 5 years ago?
Well, it turns out there just weren't
Genuinely.
there weren't any images that weren't made by professional artists. That's how it works.
I'm like, look, there are so many free stock image options out there. There
really
are meme templates already that you can use. Meme templates. You can just type your words in and it will generate the graphic for you without using fresh water and polluting the environment and
Yep.
making people's electricity bills go up.
And the meme templates are usually named the thing that you remember about the meme, right? Because they're all labeled by people who were just like, what is that meme? Well, it makes me think of this. So then they type in that word and meme. And the internet has a way of collecting all that and saying, well, that's what people call the meme. So that's how it's searchable.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking for this Principal Skinner meme. I found the exact right meme immediately because that's what everyone calls the Principal Skinner meme.
That's what everyone calls it. Yeah. The comments right now are like, oh, the meme took place in Mexico.
Once again, a shout out to Tremors 2 for being a movie set in Mexico that's neither set in the
with
desert
real lighting.
And it also doesn't use piss filter lighting.
God. It's so funny though. Like when he replied to me and was like, oh, I'm sorry I didn't have the budget for doing that. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe you should apply for some grants so that you can hire actors and lighting because, you know, that's definitely critical and necessary to your post. And him not understanding the sarcasm was like, I'll just shut down my account and apply for grants and hire a grant writer. And I'm thinking like, you are so dumb.
Light in the Ignorance for $2 says, Image Flip makes memes and has killed 0 ecosystems. That we know of. But yeah, basically. All right, I'm going to hit play here.
The Nephilim, the giants, and the hybrid perspective, whatever perspective you're going to have, it's got to be cohesive with the rest of Scripture. Another passage that did it for me on the hybrid one is...
Man, you're already imagining that the hyperbolic words of scouts sent to scout into a new territory that were like, nah, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should just not. You're already pretending that those are literally true. What do you mean cohesive with the rest of the text? You're already not aware of how the text is functioning.
Look, the angels who did not keep their own domain, but left their own abode, he has reserved in everlasting chains under darkness for the judgment of the great day. So Jude 1:6 says that there's these angels that didn't keep their own domain. They left their abode and they did something deserving to be locked up in a dungeon. So what was that thing? It could be the Genesis 6 thing, and of course.
So here's an interesting thing, right? Because in that passage of Jude is referencing First Enoch as like things that actually happen. But
people are just like, yeah, this is the lore.
Right. But the thing is that Dan Biddle himself does not accept like the inspired status of First Enoch. And so it's a little weird to me that like Dan is like, well, okay, so we're going to take the lore from First Enoch and we're going to shove it into Genesis, which is an older book that was not written with reference to anything happening in Enoch. In fact, the opposite is true. First Enoch was written about Genesis. Basically, it zooms into like one part of one chapter and was like, what if we turn this into an entire novel-length exposition about all these events that are only hinted at? And so, like, the thing is, you can't really get the whole Nephilim lore that Dan is giving us from just the excerpts of Jude. You have to say, okay, you have to make the leap from Jude is referencing First Enoch, so I get to reference First Enoch, which I don't consider inspired in the first place. Because you could make the argument.
The passage they quoted is definitely scripture because it's quoted in scripture.
Right. Or at least you could make the argument that at least it's true, even if it's not like, from God or something, right? Because the position of biblical inerrantists isn't that everything that is true is directly inspired. So you could at least make the argument that Enoch got it right at this point, and that's as far as I'll go. Which would mean that you could keep your biblical inerrantist position, right? That's compatible. I think the biblical inerrantist position is stupid for other reasons I've already mentioned, but whatever. This is at least compatible. And then but then that would mean that you don't have warrant to include the rest of First Enoch, right? Because you don't give that extra status to it. But instead he just does. And so I guess the question I would have for anyone who's doing what Dan is doing who does not have First Enoch in their canon. So basically, anyone who's doing this who isn't part of like the
Ethiopian
or
Tawhid Church.
or the Eritrean
Or
church,
Eritrea. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because we do forget that. So it wasn't that long ago
Eritrea,
the Eritrean church became separate from the Ethiopian church. It was basically not long after Eritrea became a separate country, and basically, I believe it was Pope Shenouda, the previous pope of Antioch, who was like, "All right, well, the Eritrean church is now its own autocephalous church." So there you go. You guys are.
Although it's like Eritrea being like, "Hey, Ethiopia, what if we took all of your coast?"
Yeah, and then turned into like the weirdest military dictatorship, where like Eritrea is a really weird place where like virtually everyone is employed by the military, and all the shops and all the public services are all not run just by the government, but specifically by the military. So in your military service, your job might be to run a sandwich shop that is owned by the Eritrean military. And that's just
Very
weird.
bizarre.
Yeah, like why? But you know what? I don't know. It's not my country. I feel like it's a bad idea to have the military specifically running all the grocery stores and the restaurants and being in charge of all the hospitals. I feel like the military isn't the right organization. Sorry, go ahead.
Chris Decker says, Pope Shenouda.
Pope Shenouda actually was I think he's going to become when like historians of the Oriental Orthodox Church look back at the 21st century, I think he's going to be a figure that looms large. He was a really important figure in a lot of really important stuff that happened in that group of churches, which most people don't know about, but which really did cause some major shifts. He's a big part of the reason why like there is such a strong infrastructure for Coptic Orthodoxy in places like Australia and North America. And he created at least one or two new autocephalous churches. So like it's a pretty big deal when it comes to Oriental Orthodoxy. Victoria Macaras for €5 says, if God wrote the Bible and every word is true, God is only slightly more coherent than Roger. Carmen Emo. We'll take a drink. I actually think it would be significantly more coherent than Roger, but that's a really low bar. But yeah, I think you're roughly right. Let's see. Sapphire Plushie Sorcerer's Life for $2. How much Angel BDSM is there in his browser history? You know, I am pretty sure the only reason you would not find Nephilim Rule 34 in Dan Biddle's browser history is because I don't think he knows what Rule 34 is. That's my guess. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't care about his internet browser history unless it involved minors. In which case, I would recommend that people report him to the local authorities.
Well, Tubal-Cain was a worker of iron, which does involve mining. So maybe there were miners.
Get out.
Sean Getler, 1917 for $5 says, so there is a country with actual soup, not seas. Hopes people tip their servers well there with the Mothra. We'll take a drink. Thank you very much.
So one of my internet acquaintances does like Godzilla fan art and whatever. We connected because we both live in and around the Los Angeles area and we've been trying to meet up, and they're into wrestling, which I was like, awesome. I too like wrestling. They want to see if they can get me into wrestling, like actually doing wrestling, which I'm not super interested in, but they did say that if we
weigh like 40 grams. Who are you going to wrestle with?
I know. They could just hurl me across the room. But they did say that if I practice with them so that they can get a workout, that they have purchased me a Mothra, like, wrestling onesie.
That is cool.
Like, that might get me involved for a while. It's just too hot right now. It was in the, like, low 90s for a lot of the week and very, very humid, and that is not a good time for Vishanti, so...
Buffalo Scientist says, in order for there to be Rule 34 something, that something has to exist. Ergo, no Nephilim Rule 34 equals no Nephilim. Well, okay, so now what I have to do, what I'm being compelled to do right now, is to check on my cell phone for Nephilim Rule 34, which I'm not going to be showing anyone on screen because I don't want to get banned. But we have to see if it exists, right? So, all right, here we go. No, I have to actually write the rule part. I was just about to search Nephilim 34. I don't think that's going to work.
Why wouldn't you just go on AO3 and type in Nephilim for the tag? Because I bet that exists.
Well, okay.
In
Either
fact,
way,
I'm going to check that while you do whatever it is that you're doing.
okay, sure, but I already have, in fact, pulled up multiple instances of Rule 34 to do with Nephilim, which means that they're real. So they're real. That proves it.
Why do people always have light mode enabled?
I don't know. Light mode is the worst. Although there are
Jeez.
some people who have eye problems that make dark mode largely unusable. I'm going to hit play while you work on that.
2 Peter, in the context of the flood, says this for us: if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them down into hell or Tartarus, and delivered them into the chains of darkness. Interesting, the word hell there is Tartarus, and that has a huge connotation to the way the Greeks view the giants. The word
Mm-hmm.
I did AO3's tag search just now. And yes, Nephilim is a tag in various combinations. And you want to know how many there are? 666.
Oh no, it's confirmed it was Satan the whole time. Oh my goodness.
This is great. I'm going to screenshot part of this and put it in your Discord.
Oh, good. Make sure it's not the part that actually links to anything that's
No, it's just a listing. It's just
okay.
a listing of the tags.
Okay.
This is really funny to me.
I try to keep this show and my Discord server safe for work.
Oh, that's great.
Also,
oh yeah, if Megan Lewis can hip check Dr. Josh into a wall, I see no reason why you can't wrestle. No, she literally can fight. Seriously. So don't mess with her.
I also now realize that there are going to be Nephilim Rule 34 images that are just seared into my brain. I probably should have thought about
yourself,
that. I know I did it to myself, and I thought I should have thought about that. But like, yeah.
But you didn't.
No, I didn't. Although I did notice that at least some of them, the only indication that there was anything Nephilim going on was that one of the individuals involved in the image had a halo, which presumably makes that person the fallen angel who's creating Nephilim in this scene, presumably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tartarus also. Cast them down in chains of darkness to be reserved for judgment, and did not spare the ancient world.
I mean, they're using the Greek word Tartarus, so Greek mythology confirmed, I guess.
I mean, it does seem like that would be the indication, or the implication, I mean.
Noah, one of 8 people, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood on the world of the ungodly. So I think that also parks the Nephilim giant phenomenon as a pre-flood issue, and at least part of the reason why God sent the flood. Genesis is very clear that the main driver for the flood was the wickedness of humanity.
But also, it says that Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also after.
Right, so the flood just kind of failed.
The sons of Elohim came into the daughters of the Adam. And it's like, if the flood was partially sent to get rid of Nephilim, it obviously didn't work because they were allegedly around after.
Right, so God just did a genocide against all the humans.
You can kill all but 8 people, but only some of the Nephilim?
Yeah, or maybe the Nephilim come back, because I think that is actually his contention, is that there were new instances of angels coming in, coming into the human women, which is, I believe, what some people have described as a euphemism. But I'm sorry, that's not a euphemism. That's just a literal description.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go on. Deuteronomy 9 says,
why wasn't the earth teeming with more Nephilim then? Is it because there were just fewer humans around? Or why wasn't there another flood? Is it because God was like, all right, I'm not going to do a flood this time?
I mean, really,
Does anything about fire?
The question for me then is, why aren't there a whole bunch of Nephilim right now? Right? Because if apparently...
Well, if you're L.A. Marzuli, you think that there are.
Oh, I did forget about that. Well, maybe, maybe he'll answer all those questions for us.
Okay.
Hear, O Israel, when you are to cross over the Jordan today and go into and dispossess nations greater and mightier than yourself, cities great and fortified up to heaven, a people great and tall, the descendants of the Anakim, whom you know, and of whom you have heard it said, who can stand before the descendants of Anak? And here are those 3 descendants. I won't pronounce those names, but that's who
they just...
It's just a bunch of AI nonsense.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's just AI nonsense. It's like poorly generated Hulk.
They are talking about. So it's interesting because this is not the bad report. This is Moses talking about, this is what you're going to see.
Okay, but when Moses is talking about it, he just says great and tall, and he doesn't say giants that will make you look like grasshoppers. So, like, you could be describing, like, I don't know, Norwegians. They're tall. Now what?
Also, Petite Flower says probably most of the human women couldn't survive birthing the hybrids, obviously.
Oh.
Well, if you get to Exodus, one of the reasons that the midwives say that they didn't follow Pharaoh's order to kill all the male children of the Hebrews was like, hey, these Hebrew women, they're like super hardy and strong, and they just pop those things out before we can get to them. So maybe they could handle it. I don't know.
I always thought, though, that was just the report that was given as an excuse because they just didn't actually want to go do a bunch of infanticide, and they were like, shucks, we tried, but
turns out they were talking about Nephilim.
No, okay, all right. I guess my attempt to take the Bible in a way that actually, makes a little bit of sense and isn't just absurd was the wrong way to take the Bible, actually. In fact, those they were the midwives that were saying this. Those midwives were actually all on board for the infanticide. They just literally couldn't get to it in time. Cool. That's definitely the more... What are we doing?
This is so dumb.
What is happening right now? And this is a guy who would tell you that you should just read the Bible and give it its plain meaning. Yeah, the plain meaning of that passage is that they were lying to Pharaoh because they didn't want to do an infanticide. Because even in the ancient world...
I mean, in the text straight up tells you that the midwives they did that because they feared God more.
Yeah. Nope, apparently it's actually just a literal account of the amazing hardiness of the Hebrew women who just...
Yeah.
No problem with childbirth, just popping out those babies left and right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So some people say, well, maybe they were just reported the Nephilim as a bad report. They were exaggerating it and everything. But no, Deuteronomy 9 says this is what you're going to see when you go there. So,
but it doesn't say what they report.
Oh my God.
Human giants who are like the size of several story tall buildings, like the report of the Scouts does.
It's the meme. Oh my God, he admitted.
I'm just taking another drink.
Self-werewolves moment.
And the thing that's crazy to me is, like, even if the Bible did say all these things, it wouldn't actually be evidence that they're true. But he's just inventing biblical evidence that doesn't even exist anyway.
That would be one way to consider that. So what about Goliath? He was most likely a Nephilim descendant, for he was from Gath, which was an...
Plural?
Yeah, and, I know, I was saying the same thing.
Treated here as a singular noun. The im part, that's
a Nephilim.
Yeah, the Neph plural suffix in Hebrew. It's related to in or un in Arabic, which is the masculine plural suffix in that language. Well, for words that don't use broken plurals, which is mostly words to do with humans, but like we're not here to talk about the weirdness of Arabic plurals. Suffice it to say that words that get regular pluralization and that are masculine in Arabic have a cognate ending.
This is like saying she is a woman.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I do get it. Nephil is not a word that's commonly used in English. But it is the singular form.
Oh God, Fearmonger just reminded me. A Toledote. If a word ends in eam or oat, there's a 99% chance it's plural.
There's very few exceptions. Elohim is an exception sometimes. Behemoth is an exception. But yeah, overall, that's going to be a plural word. Oat is the feminine plural ending. So one of these Toledote would be Toledah, because is the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ancient stronghold of the Anakim, says Joshua. And Numbers 13:33 mentions the sons of Anak come from the Nephilim, so we can infer.
I love how he said Anakim and then Anak.
Yeah, like
I hate this.
You know what? I will say, English has a long history of being weird with how Hebrew words come out into English in Bible translations and then into the larger like English lexicon. And I will say that most of that is because the people reading these Bible translations are not people who are likely to become familiar with Hebrew and are just reading words from a text. And like, I don't know that I could expect anything else besides that, but it is a little, it scratches at my brain in a funny way. Roshina for 199 says, Dapper being a linguist again. That's not linguist. Well, I guess it's linguistics, but shut up.
I can't believe I'm about to do this. Just for everyone's information, just for whatever reason, Gal Gadot. Gadot. It's a soft T. It's not like Godot. It's not French. Gadot. Just letting y'all know.
Okay.
I don't like her, but I can at least pronounce her name right. Gal Gadot.
I don't remember the last time I even tried to pronounce her name.
I've heard people say it like Godot,
Yeah,
because it almost looks French, and I'm like, okay, I could see that one. Godot, I don't understand, but
I feel like most people probably just don't know that it's supposed to be a Hebrew word.
they know she's Israeli, though.
But a lot of Israelis have non-Israeli last names, because a lot of them are from places like Europe.
That's a whole other topic anyway. Let's
Okay.
just keep going.
Have been from the sons of Anak because he was from Gath. And 2 Samuel 21 reports 4 different giants, descendants of the Raphaim, who were killed by David and his men. One of them had 6 fingers and 6 toes. The other one was wielding a 7-pound spearhead, Ishbi-Benob. One of them described as a brother of Goliath, and there was again a battle of Gob with the Philistines.
Oh my god. We did a whole stream about this on Kip's channel. 2 streams, maybe, but definitely one.
But Dan
Justice
didn't watch
for Elhanan and Eleazar.
Right?
Literal badasses.
In case you don't know, Elhanan is reported to be the guy who kills Goliath before we get the David story. Because the Bible,
David has a bunch of stolen valor fanboys.
The Bible, it turns out, is not actually internally consistent. And more than one person is reported as the slayer of Goliath.
And in order to give David the credit, they had to tweak the text to make it, oh, it's his brother, but then it makes their naming completely nonsensical.
Yeah, because then it means that like his brother, Goliath's brother's name ends up being like Bread, but that's not a name.
That's not a, nobody named their kid Bread.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, but justice for Elhanan, who probably actually would have killed Goliath if that incident happened anything remotely like is recorded, and then his brother Eleazar, who was also one of David's like military squad, who quite literally fought single-handedly a whole like pack of people until his hand locked up and he just couldn't fight anymore. So badass.
Elhanan, the son of Jarin, and the Bethlehemite, slew the brother of Goliath the Gittite. And some people believe that that's why David grabbed 5 rocks down by the creek. I've got one for Goliath and one for each of his brothers. Quite possible.
That's a Kent Hovind talking point.
Or maybe he just didn't want to have to rely on one shot, one kill. That seems like a...
Yeah.
My God, I'm taking another drink for the number of times that we're just taking a very ordinary part of a text and giving it a completely off-the-walls interpretation because it doesn't say that wasn't the case.
Yeah. I love that everybody's like, Elhanan mentioned, my boy. Like, yeah, give that dude some credit.
This is a chat
He's
that is
probably
a big fan
actually the
of
one
Elhanan.
that made that kill.
Well, assuming that the kill is at all historical
Again,
in the
if
first place.
the story happened at all and,
Right.
trimming out some of the exaggeration, but whatever that battle was, Elhanan's probably the one that killed that dude, and his brother was off kicking ass too, so.
But maybe not. Just some conjecture there. But let's...
Oh my God.
Some conjecture. Okay, dude.
I'm actually now...
What is this?
This is more AI nonsense. And I was about to say, I am now, like, fondly remembering last week when we had a guy who just showed a D&D white dragon on screen as an example of a legendary dragon, which wasn't accurate, but at least it was actual artwork from a real person that actually looked good, instead of whatever the hell this is. And also, why is he wearing a bath mat as a loincloth?
I don't
what is what?
Y'all look.
Oh.
Some of the minimal requirements for armor is that it protects vulnerable places on your body and or places that will cause you to bleed out almost instantly, which if you don't know where your femoral artery is, that's in your upper thigh, and
Mhm.
you generally don't want to leave that exposed. Or, your entire freaking midsection where
This
all of your intestines are.
this man is wearing fantasy woman armor.
Yes.
He's even
Yes.
got the chainmail
Yes.
bikini thing going on.
Yep. That's
You know,
it.
I want to take an extra drink for just like we're gonna put like World of Warcraft female elf version of armor on our Goliath. My God, who's also wearing a bath hat.
Fearmonger
As
is
a
saying,
normal
despite
clown.
being a Hebrew legend, I can't help but imagine him as a gaucho named Hanan, hence the name El Hanan. Um, El Hanan is from like El has grace or compassion. So
Okay, but
Hanun.
the text doesn't say that he doesn't say that he wasn't wearing a sombrero and a poncho, so we can't rule it out.
I mean, he doesn't say it that he
Yeah.
wasn't. So
So my new headcanon is that Elhanan was in fact running into battle with a poncho over him and while wearing a
he looked like
sombrero.
Emiliano Zapata.
Yeah.
Let's scale him out. He was 9 feet 9 inches tall. You scale up from the structure of humans. He was definitely much
No,
bigger than
you
Shaquille
can't
O'Neal.
just scale up.
No, you can't. In fact, actually,
That's
there's
not how this works.
I think it's Trey the Explainer that actually has a pretty good video about like if humans were actually like 9 or 10 feet tall, how would their anatomy have to look? And it's not unrecognizable as human, but it's definitely not just what would happen if you took a human and used the scale function in your 3D modeling program to scale them up that tall. Metageeky Platypus Librarian for $2 says, I thought Ralph killed Goliath. Thank you. Oh, and there's a Mothra. Turns out it was
IT Guru
Elhanan.
says 99% of fantasy armor for women is referred to as sternum breaker in circles that examine real historical armor. Yeah, it turns out if you have two molded cups for the breasts, then that means that there's something pressing directly into your sternum, so don't get hit there or else it's going straight through your chest.
Yeah, there are ways that you can make a decorative breast thing not just be something that punches through into you, but it's basically by having lightweight, thin metal, extra decorative breasts on top of a normally shaped convex breastplate, such that anything that punches through can punch through the breast thing, but it's actually going to be stopped by the actual thick metal. That could work. But yeah, most fantasy doesn't go into the point of having like a convex breastplate under that. So yeah, no, it's usually not a good idea.
Well, if you have like one single like molded piece, people will forget that women have usually two boobs. So
No,
you can't let people forget that.
it's not just one big broad one in the middle.
No,
Oh,
apparently.
Victoria Macarios for €2 says, "Let's go, men in bikini armor." Sad it's AI though. I mean, look, I like armor that looks like it could function, but if you're just going for like sexy fake armor, then sure, give as many men bikini armor as you want. I don't care. Go for it.
Let men be slutty.
Yeah.
What's
Actually,
stopping men from being like, muscular and also wearing little shorts and crop tops and having like 80s blowout hair?
I was honestly a little upset that when Games Workshop finally came out with a male Death Cult assassin model, that it didn't look like it was in slutty BDSM fetish gear, which all the female Death Cult assassins are wearing. It's like, why? Why not? Do it.
Let men be slutty.
It's fine. Yeah. Have the male Death Cult assassin also dressed in some skimpy outfit with high boots. Who cares? You've already got skimpy.
See, Flower's asking if this guy has too many abs.
I think he has too few abs. There's this
Yeah, I
big
was gonna say it looks
slab.
like a 4-pack.
Yeah.
Slab ham fist.
Okay, but do you know how many abdominal muscles a half angel would have there, Vishanti? No.
Do they have fewer? That's weird. They have more
Maybe.
space.
Yeah,
Megan
but
Fox's giant boobs is saying, Vishanti, isn't that just He-Man? Yes.
yeah, He-Man is
Yes.
basically wearing
Correct.
typical fantasy woman armor.
And we love that for him.
Yeah. Amazon has been trying to get me to watch the Masters of the Universe movie for a little while now.
I don't want to watch it because Jared Leto's in it.
Yeah, that's a good reason not to watch anything.
That was 100% of the reason I didn't want to watch Tron Ares as well.
Yeah, it was probably 80% of the reason I didn't want to watch it. The other 20% being I feel like Tron has been played
Thank you,
out.
noise ending.
It's done now. Let
Gristle
it
McThornbody.
die.
I'm on record as saying that my favorite of those names is Big McLarge Huge.
Probably 450 pounds. You can beat that up a number of different ways, but
Last
there are
card
some
cheese, yes.
some biomechanical limits for humans getting up over 500 pounds or so. But
No, Dan, by the time we reach 9'9", we're already well past the biomechanical limits. Robert Wadlow was not nearly that tall, and he couldn't live more than a couple. Well, he managed like, just into his second decade before he died of heart failure. Goliath is way past that. This is not a physically possible man. If this were a real person, he would not be a mighty warrior. He would be an invalid who couldn't lift his head up because his heart couldn't pump blood that high. This would not be a mighty giant warrior who was going to be scaring all the Israelites.
You know
He
what?
would be sick in
Maybe
bed.
the Nephilim had giraffe hearts.
Yeah, maybe. Hell, just go with whale hearts, so it's the size of like a Volkswagen Beetle.
There you go.
Those things pump like 60 gallons of blood per heartbeat. Ridiculous.
That's a lot. Yeah.
You could fit inside a whale's aorta.
he was probably in the
That's
400s. He would be, think
Well, it has to be a big whale, right? Like a dolphin, obviously not, but like, yeah.
about this. He wore
Yeah.
125-pound scale armor.
You do not have scale armor depicted here, by the way, Dan. You have a bunch of plate armor with what looks like bath mat for some reason, and like the bra looks like it's made of plastic. If I'm being honest, it doesn't
Yeah.
look like metal. It looks like shiny plastic.
Plastic.
So like, I don't know why you thought that this was a good AI generation. In fact, nothing about it tells me that he's particularly tall. Like the anatomy is bad. The armor does not look like what is described. Why did you do this? What is happening? Why did you make this? Or sorry, why did you have a machine that kills the environment and also gives people cancer make this for you? Why did you think that was a good idea?
His spearhead was probably 15 pounds, 4 ounces exactly, but right in that range. And the shaft of his spear was like a weaver beam about the size of your wrist. Well, there's what a weaver's beam looks like. Big, huge, and weighty. And by the time you put it together,
I like how he didn't give us anything for scale, so there's no actual way to know how big that weaver's beam is.
Can we start talking about how big Paul Bunyan's axe was?
Sure,
Because
why
we're
not?
talking about shafts like a weaver's beam here, so
I mean, it was big enough to carve out the Grand Canyon when he accidentally let it drag behind him. So,
yeah.
you know.
you've got a weapon that was probably about 40 pounds or more. And we have King Og with his bed. Why would the Bible mention his bed was 14 feet long and 6.5
King
feet
of
wide? He was
Bashan. We read about him this week in my class.
Look, guys, if I'm going to take a drink here, because if you can't think of a reason why some king in a time when having hundreds of concubines was common might want to have a giant bed, you just lack imagination.
Yeah, skill issue.
Yeah. Because my guess is that the reason he had a giant bed was because he had at least dozens of women who were not allowed to object to whatever he wanted them to do, who were being brought in. There's a good explanation for it, man. We don't have to actually posit a 14-foot long person. Or tall, I suppose. We just don't have to do that. That's not a requirement that we need.
Imagine them seeing a California king bed. Like
Right.
Megan Fox's giant boobs was talking about in the chat. They'd be like,
There's-
oh my god, this is for a giant.
That's the other thing. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I don't sleep in a bed that barely accommodates my body, right? It's a little bigger than
Yeah.
that, so I can like stretch out a little bit, maybe have some room, maybe be able to roll over. I don't know. Tree Clam Tat for $2 says it's true because beam big. It's true. It is basically his argument.
Yeah.
Let me update the counter here. All right. We are actually at the 1 hour mark, so we're going to take a quick break. In the meantime, you can see the new Star Trek Endurance teaser trailer for next Friday. And then after that, I believe we're going to be going on to the musical stylings of Beethoven. And yeah, take this time to grab a snack, get your refresh drink, whatever you need, use the bathroom. I don't care. We will be right back after this intermission. Next time on Star Trek Endurance.
Captain's log, stardate 61287.07. We recently assisted the colonists of Stalis II by supplying a range of new excavation equipment, allowing them to greatly speed up their expansion underground. While demonstrating the new technology, a new type of mineral was discovered that displayed some unusual properties. We relayed our findings to Starfleet Command, who dispatched a science ship to Stalis II to conduct further tests. But before we had left the system, we received a distress call from the colony.
The colonists are acting erratically and violently. Has some environmental toxin affected them? Are they under the influence of the Telecol? Are the strange energies of the Shackleton Expanse causing this somehow? The crew will have to investigate, but while they do, they themselves risk falling prey to whatever sinister force is affecting the colonists of Stellus II. Can the crew of the Kong Z save not only the colonists, but also themselves? Find out next time, only on the Top Hats Off channel. All right, so first I want to do a we looked at that last at the bottom on that teaser trailer. That is a scene that was all done in guess how big the file size is that I used to create that, because I had Bent guess and he guessed way wrong by several orders of magnitude. So how much space on my hard drive do y'all think that file takes up? Turkey Sloth 121, who's been a member for 34 months and is at the tetrapod level, says, Dapper, why is an AIG in my yard? I don't know. That sounds terrible. But you use the bag of dicks emoji, so we'll take a drink for it. Oh, my audio's kind of in and out. What the? Is it doing that for you?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Weird.
Is it? What the hell?
I don't know. It's very strange.
All right. Well, yeah, YouTube is censoring me. I'm trying to look at like the actual like mic information here. That looks like it's fine. Just okay now? All right, I don't know. I tightened some of the connections. I don't know. I might have to replace this preamp. Which would be a pain in the ass. But yeah. Anyway, so what I was trying to say is that last scene in the teaser trailer for the next episode where there was a mine shaft, and there were like little supports going along, and there was a little like rail with going along at the bottom. How much space on my hard drive do you think that scene takes up? So let me know what you think. So now that we're back, I do want to say, first of all, thank you so much to everyone who is here, who is supporting. This channel is, of course, as you probably know, basically what is paying the bills. And YouTube likes to make that hard, especially now that it's being inundated with slop. And basically me and the rest of the science friends, and also a lot of people who aren't formally in that group, but that are, like science creators, and even in a few other spaces on YouTube, are noticing that views are down and revenue is down. And it is rough. I would like to be able to keep doing this for as long as possible. And it is increasingly, I'm increasingly aware of the fact that not only does YouTube not directly make that possible for most people, but they're even to some degree making it harder for other people to find me and therefore to continue supporting me. So yeah, if you want to see this channel keep going, the only way that can happen is if people go and support. So check out the Patreon, check out the Discord, the YouTube memberships. Discord starts at $1 a month. Memberships start at $1.99. You can get a 15% discount over on the Patreon if you go annual with your membership. They both get you early access to my Discord server. They both give you access to early access for scripted videos. There's like 5 months worth of early access right now, just available to people to watch. Hours and hours and hours of content. So yeah, please support if you can, because it's not easy. Cost of living is going up, and it's becoming a squeeze where like even the amount of money that would have been fine a year ago is now like it's hard to continue on unless I switch to rice and beans in some cases. So like, Tree Clam Tat for $2 says censoring because too woke, go broke. There, that is what it is. That's the answer. I went too woke.
Joshua Geese is telling you to put it on Throne.
What's the preamp? I might, but the thing is, I have to look into what preamp I would want. So yeah, because I don't know a damn thing about all that stuff. Katie Lewis, who's been a member for 25 months and is at the Tetchball level, says surprising Biddle hasn't put Enoch in the canon. It's. I have seen a movement from some people, mostly who do content on TikTok, who seem to want to put Enoch in the canon for their version of Christianity. I don't know of any institutional churches that are moving that way, but like it would not surprise me if you could find like a sort of a non-denominational church here and there that was like, yeah, Enoch, that counts as the Bible. Like, it's not like I can tell them no.
You know how you get a canon? Start using a text, add time.
Yeah, basically. There's no way for me to say that, like, you're not allowed to add Enoch to the canon. Like, I'm not in charge of what you put in your biblical canon. I'm not anyone's pope. In fact, even popes don't normally do that. Like, what's in the Catholic Bible wasn't decided by some pope just deciding this is what's in it. Tree Clan Tad, who's just sent 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much. That really does help. And also, if you guys are new members and you want to join the Discord, connect your YouTube account to your Discord account in the connections area. Then my server should come up. You hit join there. All right.
Buffalo Scientist is the Council of TikTok 2026.
I mean, so okay, here's a weird thing. That actually lines up surprisingly well with certain aspects of Eastern Christian ecclesiology, wherein basically a lot of ideas that are like officially part of the theology of Eastern churches, or even just rejecting certain councils, are there because basically the large majority of the lay people in the churches involved were just like, no, sorry, bishops, we're not gonna do that. Like, there was a unification council between the Eastern Orthodox and the Roman Catholic churches that happened in like I think it was like the 17th century. And basically the entirety of like the laity of the Eastern Orthodox Church were just like, nope, sorry, we're not in communion with the Catholic Church. I don't care that you said that we were. We're just not. And so that whole unification council just kind of failed because basically the entire laity were just like, no,
Nah.
not doing it. I'm like, okay, well, there you go. All right. Now, I almost certainly got the date wrong. So like, feel free to correct me in the comments, but I am aware that I'm probably wrong about the exact date of that council because I don't remember it off the top of my head. I just know it happened. Here we go. Oh, also, you can render for me. There's stuff in the description about how to do it. I say that because otherwise Borg Emporia will never let me hear the end of it, and rightfully so. Okay.
Last of the Raphaim. So there was a race of people that were called the Raphaim. This guy was the last of them, and he had a 14-foot long bed. Well, here's Goliath's spear. And I made this statement yesterday, and I'll say it again today. It's a bold statement, but if you got a guy this big and he wants to attack me with this spear out in the parking lot, I'm going to win the fight. Because humans can't take a 40-pound spear and do anything with it. You can't throw it at me. You can't stab me with it because I'm going to see it coming, and all you got is about one thrust, and I'm going to grab the thing, right? So whoever could wield this spear.
I feel like Dan Biddle is the kind of American who thinks he could win a fight with a grizzly bear. Because like I don't think he has any combat ability, like at all. And I'm not saying that like I think that I'm some like crazy awesome warrior, but I also happen to know that I would not, at least in my human suit, stand a chance against a brown bear. At all. But I feel like Dan is the kind of guy who thinks that he might. And Dan, if you ever watch this, please let me know. Put it in the comments. Do you think you could win a hand-to-hand combat with a brown bear? Just let me know. Not a polar bear, not a black bear, a brown bear. Not necessarily a grizzly bear, because that's a subspecies of brown bear. Just any old brown bear. Let me know, because I'm curious. And I'll let you know now. No, you couldn't. You absolutely could not. You could win a fight with a brown bear if you had a powerful, like, gun, but you couldn't win a fist-to-fist fight with a brown bear. No, Rom to puts for $2 says, anyone who can lift a 40-pound spear can beat me up. Yeah, that's another point. Like, you got to be fairly jacked to be able to just, like, casually toss that around. Because even though 40 pounds is enough, like, most people could just, like, physically pick it up. To actually be able to, like, swing it around, that's a considerable amount of strength. So, all right, here we go.
Effectively had to be way bigger than this 6'4" ex-Division I football player guy we hired to swing the thing around. He had to be, like the Bible says, 9 foot 9 inches, probably over 400 pounds, to do anything with this spear effectively. So there's lots of different ways you can estimate an iron shekel, but
Tree Clam Tat for $2 says, my guy couldn't win a fight with the California state flag. That's great, thank you. All right, here we go.
It was definitely in the 15 to 17 pound range, and it was probably about as thick as your wrist, or 2 to 2.5 inches thick. So here's a clip. This has no sound, from the House of David movie. I don't.
My wrist is not very thick, so
yeah, it's a weird thing to say, the size of your wrist, because that varies. Like,
it's also one of the more narrow parts of your body generally. So
yeah, and like the fact that wrists vary in size is one of the big reasons why handcuffs have multiple like latches that they can go to. Yeah. So like, yeah. Also, in my human suit, I can actually squeeze my hand to be about as thick as my wrist, which means handcuffs don't normally work on me. I'm not going to tell you how I found out about that
movie, but I think they got the size of Goliath right here. We can see how he might have looked to the rest of the Philistines who are probably.
Hey, I noticed that in this movie, Goliath is actually wearing scale armor, Dan.
yeah,
I noticed that. Why couldn't you get him to do that? You had to put him in a freaking bikini.
Probably in the 5 feet or so range, about double the height at 9 feet 9 inches, or almost there. And here comes David coming out, and you can see what a giant of these proportions would look like. Just definitely a big guy. Here's another animation.
Oh my God, no! Ugh.
Dan, why are you throwing this in here? You were already just using a clip of a professionally made TV show that showed you a reasonable reconstruction of what Goliath from the text would look like. And now you're tossing, once again, your bikini-clad, no-scale armor guy who's wearing a bath mat as a loincloth. Why are you doing this?
His head is just way too tiny for his body.
That's a 450-pound person that was over 9.
I'm sorry. Did what I just interpreted as an ab flex like they were pecs flexing? Are those supposed to be Goliath's pecs under the bikini? Is that what just happened?
That was horrific.
I'm taking a drink for, like, apparently Goliath's pecs stretch all the way down to the middle of his freaking abdomen. Why? What would possess anyone to think that that was something they should show anyone? It's like a
What the
freaking
fuck?
body horror. Gordon Loves Science for $20 says, enjoy your content and happy to support you, Dapper. Thank you so much. That really does mean a lot. Then Victoria Macarios for... Oh, I almost made a mistake on my inputting of the funding thing. Victoria Macarios for €2 says, this guy hasn't seen any weapon-based martial art. That's probably true. Or at least he hasn't looked into it much. And that also met us the thing. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go throw on my human suit real quick while Vishanti regales you with what her favorite Pokemon is.
Usually, I don't tell people because I want them to guess it, because no one ever guesses it. So there are a few people in the chat that do know what my favorite Pokemon is. And if you guys know, you can put it in the chat. But I will change the subject temporarily, because what is the best potato chip and why is it salt and pepper? I can't stop eating salt and pepper chips, whether it's Trader Joe's brand, Kettle brand, don't care. Salt and pepper potato chips are so addictive and yummy. And I just had them with a peanut butter and jelly crepe. So, yummy. And no, it is not Diglett. That is not my favorite Pokemon. It is one of the original 151, however.
I came back.
Cool.
Why isn't it Diglett? Why isn't it Diglett?
Huh. Carberry?
I don't know. All right. We ready?
No. Yeah.
Even though you didn't answer my question.
It's not Squirtle.
Feet. Definitely a giant, not a big,
It's not
tall
Pikachu.
human, and definitely not a human with a pituitary gland problem that can cause giantism.
Okay, but then you have to explain
Not
what
that
it
kind
is.
of giantism.
You have to explain what it is
Not
then,
even.
Dan, because half angel doesn't mean anything, right? Like, what is it? What is that? Do angel? Because normally, when Christians at least think of angels, they think of spiritual beings that don't actually have physical bodies. And so, like, how many chromosomes does an angel have? How does that work? Is there like a change to the human growth hormone production in a half angel? How tall are angels? Do they have to grow up? Do the angels produce more angels by having sex with each other? Like, you're introducing this concept of angels, Dan, into this whole situation where, like, it's deeply entwined with biology. Now, I'll grant you that when Enoch was being written, no one knew what a chromosome was. No one knew how reproduction worked, right? They were like, okay, so you insert tab A into slot B, and then somehow baby comes out. And no one knew how. No one even knew that babies had to be basically 50-50 splits in genetic material between the mother and the father, discounting mitochondrial DNA, which is a tiny minority of your DNA anyway, so it's close to 50-50. Like, no one knew about that. In fact, if we want to go outside the Bible, if we want to go to, say, like, the Hadith literature about Muhammad, when Muhammad was asked what makes a baby look like its mother or father, his answer was, whoever orgasms first, that's who the baby's going to look like. So,
That sounds like an excuse.
well, I mean, I guess you could go with the argument that, like, if you really like how your wife looks and you want them to look like her, then you better do the work to make sure that she's the one who goes first. I don't
Nope,
know.
too much ego.
But, like,
People still haven't guessed my favorite Pokemon.
what? How crazy? But like, I'm not doing that to like dunk on the Islamic sources particular. I'm doing it to illustrate the point that like no one had a single clue. But now we do, Dan. So if you want to say, oh, these ancient people had this idea, I mean, like, all right, cool. They didn't know anything about how reproduction works in the first place, other than like the most basic mechanics of how you get it done. But we do now, Dan. Explain it to me. And he's not going to.
465 in the chat says, I just saw L.A. Marzuli in the title, prompted me to express myself. God damn, he is such L.A. Marzuli is a silly boy.
So Dan hasn't actually said it explicitly, but he does later on in this video, and I'm not sure how far we are from it. But he gets a lot of this from L.A. Marzuli directly. All right, we have a few super chats here. Katie Lewis, 6083 for $5 says, Council of Florence was 15th century. There we go. And got rejected by basically all the Eastern clergy, not just lady. That's also true. And some patriarchs didn't sign at all. Yeah, that's true. I was exaggerating the degree to which it was just the lady. IT Guru for $5 says, spears of that sort... Oh, I just missed it. There we go. Weren't swung. You keep it point forward and thrust. That's true. Yeah, it is a thrusting weapon. And you plant the other end when facing a charge by a mounted group. Yeah, although I don't think that he's... It is still the case that the use against infantry, which is the use that's probably going on in the Bible, is thrusting against infantry. So let's see. Megan Fox Giant Poops for $5 says, you couldn't make me share what I like. You couldn't make me share what I like this guy is if you paid me. Oh, I get it. You couldn't make me share what I like this guy is if you paid me. Sorry. There weren't enough commas, so I got confused. Sorry. That's actually what happened. Yeah.
And
no.
yes, let's be clarified that he sucks. He just, they made a typo.
Roshina at 199 says, at least he recognized women have orgasms? Yeah, I guess there is that. I don't know, like, I don't know the degree to which that was unknown generally. I don't know. But yeah, that was the answer for why babies sometimes look more like their mother or father. Nothing to do with like dominant or recessive genes or just the bias of the person looking at the baby. Nope. Who had an orgasm first?
Genetics wasn't invented until like a couple hundred years ago anyway.
True. Which actually does make me wonder, okay, so like, let's say that when you're fathering a child, the mother doesn't orgasm at all. Does that mean that the baby doesn't look like her at all and it's just a clone of the father? Huh. I don't know. All right. Here we go.
So in 1962, a farmer was out tilling his field and found what's known as a Kafar Manash stash. It was a weapons hoard of a bunch of weapons that dated to the time of David, so about 3,000 years ago. And they found a 26-inch spearhead that weighed 4.5 pounds, and it had battle scars on it. And Ishmael Benab, a giant of the Philistine race, had a spear that was 300 shekels of brass, which was...
Hey, Dan. There was a point that was actually brought up in the chat just a little bit ago about the fact that if you plant a spear in the ground, it becomes a good anti-cavalry weapon. But also, in the history of the world, people have made oversized spears for planting in the ground for defending static locations against cavalry charges. And those can be much bigger to become much more effective against the cavalry charge. And they're not intended to be like wielded by a particular person against infantry. They're static emplacements. And then you can have infantry between them to counter infantry charges, right? So we know that oversized spearheads are a thing that don't require giants, which means that finding an oversized spearhead isn't evidence of giants on its own. It doesn't preclude giants. It's compatible with giants, right? But we also know that there were other other reasons why you might make a giant spearhead. So, like, how did you rule that out? Did you? Or did you just assume,
No.
Well, that sounds like a Goliath spearhead if I ever heard of one?
He doesn't read the Bible critically.
No. Nor does he ever think about, like, it's not just that. It's also, like, anytime anything comes up that would seem, at first glance, if you don't think about it, like it supports his idea, he doesn't think about the fact that that might actually not be the case. And I'm just realizing I left my beer in the other room like an idiot. So I might have to, like, go grab that in a little bit because I still have a tiny little bit of this beer left. Wait a minute. We didn't take the 5 drinks for the 5 gifted memberships, did we?
Man, people are trying to guess all the the Gen 1 Pokemon. It's just they're not getting it. It's
All right.
interesting.
Well, I just took those 5 drinks for that, which cleared out this. So I'm going to be right back. So, Vishanti, give people a hint.
Okay. So Petite Flower is asking if it's an evolved or base form, and I'll tell you it's the base form. So nobody's getting it so far. And yeah, I did mention this on air like once at least before, but it, you know. And I know there's 151 original like Pokemon, but you know. Start with base forms. Cause yeah, it's funny to me that no one's getting it, but nobody's gotten it. So it's fine. Tree Clam Tad. See if I can find that comment.
Also, I gotta
The
say,
only Pokemon I know are Lightning Rat, Sleepy Totoro, K-Ring, and Trash Bag.
not a perfect pour, but better than a Hillary Clinton pour. So I'll take it. Because I still can't ever get that image out of my mind of Hillary Clinton holding up a beer that's almost entirely head and smiling at the camera like an idiot. One of those, like, you've never actually had a normal person experience in your life, have you? You've always just been the rich, sheltered person who was in a well-connected family, haven't you? And the answer to that is yes. That is, in fact, what's going on there. All right, we have 5.
Lizard Glasses are like, quick, who remembers the poker rap? You might get it eventually.
Oh, I just put the wrong number in there. I'm sorry. That's a Dapper as a professional right there.
Well, they're still not getting it.
Right, so
Good trying though.
Jessica, Transmetal Alchemist just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. So I'm going to take 5 for that.
Okay.
All right, guys. There's only 151 Gen 1 Pokemon. Just start listing them in order. Start at 1, and then go. You'll get to it.
It's half of the weight of Goliath, and that weighed probably 7.3 pounds. So they found a 4.5 pound spearhead. And then we know from the Bible that Ishbe-Benob's was about 7 pounds, 7.3 pounds.
I like how he's like, man, look at this giant spearhead. It's half the size of a giant spearhead as depicted in the Bible. So like, oh, okay, cool.
So here is what this guy from Expedition Bible Video says about this.
However, the largest spearhead that was found in the monastery,
Oh no,
just took the length of it from the drawing, 60.
this is happening in the video.
And you just see how massive spearhead is. There is another spearhead, only 6 centimeters smaller than this one, that was found at Megiddo. So these aren't the only giant spearheads that have been found. But this is the largest one that's been found in the land of the Bible. And
all right, so did you check to see what any archaeologists have to say about this? Right? Like, did you just ask?
Oh, we have a winner.
Oh, who got it? Was it Fits of Rage?
Rage?
There we go. Fits of Rage got it. Tree Clam Tat for $2 says, Vicious favorite Pokemon is the Dragon of Mars. You get out of here with that heretical nonsense. Dragon of Mars. Although actually, I'm listening to the audiobook for Mechanicum from the Horus Heresy right now. And yeah, we got to the part where the main character, well, one of the main characters, is off the Labyrinthus Noctis because she heard like an oracle from some guy about the Dragon of Mars and Noctis Labyrinthus and all that. So like, yeah. And we just got past the Death of Innocence in the book. I'm sure Vishanti knows all about the Death of Innocence. When Fabricator General Calbor Hall released scrap code onto all of Mars. And pretty much only Magma City was saved. The place where the noosphere was basically implemented first.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll catch Vishanti up on her new religion's history later.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because Vishanti is she's getting the machine cult initiation. This was happening.
And it's just absolutely massive.
Fits of Rage 23, who's been a member for 30 months and is at the amnio level, says, woohoo! With a pelagic tunicate, gross. Then like 8 Vishantis. Another pelagic tunicate, but then all 4 of our kaiju emojis.
Yeah.
Tree Clam Tad says gray goo, but Mechanicus. That's not how I would describe the Death of Innocence. I mean, it was just a release of scrap code. It did cause several fusion reactors, sorry, to go like atomic explosion though. So that's bad. All right, so here's one thing. I want to check to see. Like, what do you say? Where is Megiddo? Is that where it was supposed to be?
I wasn't listening.
Oh, how dare. Let's see. It would also have
If Cheshna is my favorite Pokemon, she would have gotten it instantly.
But didn't you tell her a few times?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She drew fan art of me with my favorite Pokemon.
I'm not finding anything immediately, so I'm just gonna...
They're saying that your audio cut out again?
What the hell? I do not want to have to switch back to my other microphone that is much lower quality, but like, this doesn't happen when I'm recording audio. I have no idea.
It might just be a thing today.
No, it's been a thing a few streams. Not consistently, not very often, but it's been a thing, and I don't know what to do about it. Might be some lag on your PC because it's only sometimes and it fixes itself. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not tugging on any of the connections. So, I don't know.
So the challenge we have here is for about 5 years, I trained and discipled a bunch of young men, young teenagers, in the theme of knighthood. And because there's...
What? What? You trained a bunch of young men in the theme of night... What does that sentence even mean, my guy? Because I'll be honest, it sounds like
the theme of knighthood.
It sounds like you started a cult focused on minors, is what it sounds like. Now, that is not what I'm saying happened, and it's not what I'm saying I think he said. But, like, dude, you need to clarify that shit, because, like, holy fuck, what the hell are we even talking about? You discipled young men in the theme of knighthood. Did they get horses? Because I don't know if you know,
right?
But, like, definitionally, knights are mounted warriors. Like, that's why the French word for knight is chevalier, which literally just means, like, horseman. That's why no one got the joke, but when I was running the Power Rangers campaign and I had a knight monster for the Power Rangers to fight, his name was Sir Chevalier, and I think only Chesh got that, and only after the fact. And they fought him in Paris. And it was a bit of an international incident because he destroyed a large portion of downtown Paris. So, like...
Does this mean that, like, horse girls have a special place in the hierarchy?
If they ride horses into battle, then yeah, sure.
Okay.
All kinds of biblical stuff you can do with discipleship.
Bits of Rage has gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership. Thank you so much, and we will take a drink for it. All right, here we go.
With young men using the theme of knighthood. And so we would do that, and we would sword fight and do archery and work with spears. And
so, like, you're teaching them, like, HEMA? Because, like, okay, sure, whatever, I guess. Like, have a HEMA camp, I don't care. But, like, is that what you're saying? How does that... Okay, I've done archery, and I've done limited amounts of, like, you know, fucking around sword fights, because, you know, I've been a kid. That's what kids do, right? You find a good stick. And, like, that's fine and all, but, like, none of that has made me feel particularly closer to God or anything. Like, what are we doing here? Is this one of those, like, oh, like, to be a real Christian man, you gotta be a big macho guy with the big muscles who can cause lots of violence, like Jordan Peterson likes to talk about? Is that what we're doing here? Because, I will say, it is hard to read the Gospels and get the impression that what Jesus wants you to do is to be like a high T macho man who goes and beats people up. That is not one of the big themes in the Gospels, as I remember them. It is true that I did not just read them yesterday, but like, I don't know, Vishanti, you've read the Gospels too. Do you remember Jesus being like, you should go be able to beat people up? That's what you really need to do to be saved.
I don't remember that part.
I don't
No.
remember that part either. I am really tired of like the faux macho version of Christianity that has taken over a large segment of American Christianity. And it's not just Protestants. I encountered an Eastern Orthodox priest who's a masculinity influencer.
Gross.
Yeah, to be fair, he's been disciplined by his bishop. So like, good job to that bishop. But like, it's a thing, and it's weird, and it's gross. And like, he's there like chugging raw eggs while talking about masculinity and the church. And it's like, what are you doing? All right, Tree Clam Tat for $5 says, I trained a bunch of young men in the theme of Adeptus Astartes. That's why God created the earth in 6 days. I gotta say, I actually so in Space Marine 2, they recently implemented like some rewards for doing the PvP game mode besides just unlocking cosmetics only for PvP. And so I was like, all right, fine, I'll jump into the PvP. And I actually did have a little bit of fun. So like, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna start doing some more Space Marine 2 PvP. I especially like the Hellbrute onslaught because sometimes I get to be a giant Hellbrute. And that's the only time I get a really, really good kill to death ratio is when I get to be the Hellbrute. Roshna for $4.99 says all kinds of biblical and Greek stuff you can do with teenage boy.
We're gonna be like the Spartans, eh?
Yeah, it says all kinds of biblical and Greek stuff you could do with teenage boys, Biddle. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying that that's what happens because I don't know. I don't know who any of these kids are. I wasn't there. But like, Dan, you're not telling this in a way that would assuage those concerns, if you know what I mean. So yeah, just you don't have to talk about it this way, man.
Josh O'Geese writes, is there a vascular Christianity?
I guess anyone with veins and arteries and a Christian would be vascular to some extent. You know, it does also reminds me of all those stories I've heard from pastors actually who talked about various messages from the gospel, like, you know, feeding the poor, attending to the sick, visiting those who were imprisoned, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And having people come by and say, that sounds too woke. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's just the gospel. It's just
right. It's just right there.
Yeah, you come away with, you know what I should do? I should feed the poor. I should take care of widows and orphans. I should help attend to the sick. And I should visit people who are held captive in prisons. Jesus says to do it a whole bunch. If you're going to do Jesus-y things, that should be on your list of things to do. Tree
Clam Tad says yelling vascular Christianity in the Vince McMahon voice. Sable Eagle says skeletal Christianity, nervous system Christianity, and hormonal Christianity. Endocrine Christianity.
Endocrine, that's what I was about to add, is endocrine Christianity. Oh.
Yes.
Roshi. Oh, no, I already read that one. We got Jessica Transmetal Alchemist for $5 redo says muscular Christianity in the US goes back to the middle of the 19th century. It's where American football and the YMCA originate from. That reminds me, I recently put as a joke on someone complaining about like the loss of like spaces for Christian men. And I was like, yeah, you know, the real downfall of the West is when the YMCA started admitting non-Christians and women. That was when things really started to fall apart.
We would get dressed up in plain mail and chainmail and plate armor and fight each other like full combat style.
I will say, technically, male implies chain, so like you can just say male, but like who cares? That's not a big deal.
And I gotta say,
Just
But also, yeah, just go to therapy.
go to therapy.
Although I will also say, like, look, if you want to do HEMA as a fun activity that you do with your friends, or you want to join a HEMA club, which is historical European martial arts, like, whatever. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. They're not everyone involved in that scene. Like, I know that Shad has given HEMA like a bad name, but that's not actually what I see from most of the people in that space. Most of whom are like, no, that guy's a dick. Fuck that guy.
I worked with a lot of guys, a lot of different sizes, and I'll make another bold statement that humans can only be
It was like, I worked with a lot of different sizes. Dan, do you listen to yourself? Do you listen to yourself, man? Has Dan just become Tobias Funke? Is that what's happening right now?
effective in battle with a 3-pound spear. If it's heavier than that, you're going to telecast where your next move
Heavier
is,
than
and you
that.
can't throw it effectively if it weighs a lot more. A lot of these
Hey, Dan, did you know that spears and javelins aren't the same weapon? You don't throw a spear. It's not weighted for that. It's not designed to be aerodynamic like that. It's not a ranged weapon. Javelins and spears aren't. I'm taking a drink for if you couldn't throw a spear like that. You weren't supposed to.
Wow.
I don't ask a whole lot, but if you're going to train a bunch of kids in fun time medieval warfare stuff, maybe know the difference between a spear and a javelin. I don't know.
I'll bet he doesn't know the difference between a trebuchet and a catapult.
Yeah, probably not. Tree Clam Tap for $2 says, Vish, therapy didn't give me a sword. I mean, that is a good point. There aren't too many therapists handing out swords. Although, you know what? If I were to ever get a PhD, I want to get a PhD in a country where getting the PhD comes with a sword. Because that's a thing, right? Like, I don't want a stupid cap or like bands around my sleeves in my stupid gown. I want a sword. Way cooler. I say that, and like, I have a kukri that has been languishing in its sheath for like a decade, and it's probably rusted all to hell. So like, maybe I shouldn't be trusted with a sword. But yeah, my dad gave it to me after he came back from Nepal. He was like, I got you a kukri. And I was like, cool. And then I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with a kukri? And I still
don't know.
I still don't know. I guess I could use it to like split open coconuts. It's really heavy. It's basically a giant blade weighted like a hammer.
Nice.
Yeah.
javelins you see with the Olympians, their things are very, very light. They're throwing them. The Vikings work with 3 to 4 pound spears, maybe. Most medieval.
I'm sorry, hold on.
I'm gonna quote Atomic Squirrel in the chat. Spear, the well-known Olympic event.
Okay, but he just said the Vikings worked with 3 to 4 pound spears, which means that a 4-pound spear is a historically reasonable thing for a guy to wield, according to Dan. Which means this isn't evidence of anything. According to Dan, not according to me. Not me.
All the
That's Dan.
Vikings were Nephilim.
Oh my god, I just realized that might actually be what he's going to go for.
Great.
Oh, I hate it so much. Let's see. Fear Feistmonger says that swords that the Finnish PhDs get is stainless steel. Stainless steel still does rust eventually, but it would probably last a while. Yeah. Oh, get the sword first, then present your thesis, because that's the best defense is a good offense. Says Sable Eagle.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you don't think I've sufficiently supported my conclusion? Well, have you considered that I have a sword?
Yes.
Oh. Oh, wait, hold on. Trick Time Chat says, if you work for CCP, the makers of EVE Online, for 5 years, they give you a sword, then they're a registered weapons dealer in Iceland because of it. That's amazing. Also,
awesome.
My favorite story about EVE Online is that they had to hire a team of economists because the player economy had grown to the point that they could no longer keep track of what was actually going on without professional economists to help.
What?
I'm not kidding. Also, EVE Online sometimes makes international headlines because people will like go into PvP battles, and that PvP battle will destroy hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of internet spaceships because there is an obvious way to convert the in-game currency into real-world numbers, because you can buy a month subscription with in-game currency, and the 1 month subscription also has a real world price, which means that you can just convert. And so people will go in and lose hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of internet spaceships in a battle over internet space territory. Tree Clam Tat for $2 says the sword will help you fight the snake. That's true. Yeah, because as we all know, the last part of your PhD process is that you are sent to fight a snake after you defended your thesis.
Mhm.
And how dangerous the snake is determined by how much they liked your thesis defense.
Spears, the Roman army was working with lighter weight spears. Humans can't work with 26-inch spearheads that weigh 4.5 pounds. It's very, very difficult.
But they can work with 4-pound spearheads, Dan? I mean, sure, that doesn't sound wieldy to me, but like, also remember, there are other things you can do with a spearhead besides swinging at people, and no one's throwing them, Dan, because they're spearheads, not javelin tips. Like, one thing about javelins is they tend to have a fairly round shape, so they're more aerodynamic, whereas, and also they can do things like spin stability. Whereas if you look at this is a broad shape, so it's not for throwing.
That's for stabby.
Yeah, stab.
Try it yourself sometime,
And
because if you
cutting.
just take the spear that's in his hand, 4.5 pounds, and put a shaft on it through the tang that you see there, and go extend it out about the height of the warrior, let's say it was 6, 7, 8 feet,
Spears were routinely taller than the people wielding them, but whatever, who cares?
Again, you've got a 15-pound implement that most people just cannot work with. So it's
Okay, well, it's most, but not everyone. But also, have we ruled out that these spear tips could have been used for static emplacements to defend against cavalry charges? Have we ruled that out? Because that's a thing. No? I feel like Dan would be really bad at Total War. I feel like Dan would be like, oh, my spearmen, I should definitely not set them against that cavalry charge. In fact, I should countercharge. No, you shouldn't. My Infinite Journey for $2 says, hail Daps and Vish, and hail Thesis Defense by Sword. Thank you very much. And also, speaking of Total War, Vishanti, did you know that Total War Warhammer 40,000 is coming out? That's going to be a thing. I'm looking forward to it.
Mhm.
I'm also looking forward to Dawn of War 4, which is coming out like next month. But I am being cautious with that one. I'm going to wait until reviews start coming in, because Dawn of War has burned me in the past, that franchise. So
shows that different species is messing with these types of armor. Here's the scales of armor that they
I'm sorry, different species? I guess Nephilim are a different species. Sure, that, you know what, fair enough.
found. Very, very similar to what the Bible would have described as scales of armor. Goliath was wearing 125 pounds worth of this stuff.
Damn. Finding scales is not evidence that the Goliath story is true. It's evidence that scale armor was a thing, but that wasn't really disputed. No one is saying that the Goliath story isn't true because, like, the Bronze Age didn't have scale armor. Like, what? I'll take another drink. What is the point of this? Megan Fox's Giant
really
Boobs for $2 says, defending your thesis against a sea crate. So here's the thing about sea crates, right? They're absurdly venomous, but they're also super docile. Like, they're extremely non-aggressive. So, like, I actually don't think that defending against a sea crate would be all that difficult, because, like, they do not like to bite. They don't like to strike out. They just like to flee. Or actually, in some cases, they just hang out. Like, you can go watch video of, like, divers holding sea crates. Absurdly deadly toxic sea crates, and they just hold them for a little while, and they let go, and the sea crate swims away. I don't recommend doing that, by the way. Don't do that. But, like, yeah, it turns out sea crates are just super chill. Actually, it turns out a lot of snakes are super chill if they don't think you're a threat, because snakes don't want to waste venom. Let's see. Mind Finished Sock for $5 says, don't defend your PhD thesis with a sword, but if you do, sell tickets and popcorn. Either way, like and share the stream with a tongue out winky face emoji, and then a popcorn emoji. And then Lizard Lass, who's been a member for 2 months, says, is his source for this his totally awesome fanfic? I mean, honestly, maybe. And I would I would actually appreciate that, because the thing is, a lot of the stuff that, like, creationists and even flirts talk about, I'm like, that would be cool world building for a fantasy setting. just go write a fantasy novel, dude. Right? Like, go for it. I think it's Bibloridian has a cool flat Earth setting where like there's something like 4 different suns that circle over like a central point on his fantasy setting, and there's like little moons that block them out sometimes, creating night pockets, and then the area under it is always under sunlight, and like he's got a whole bunch of cool conlangs and spec evo stuff going on. That's all cool. Do that instead of trying to convince people that the actual real world is flat and 6,000 years old and that evolution is fake. IT Guru for $5 says the existence of scale armor doesn't prove the existence of Goliath any more than the New York subway proves the existence of Peter Parker, Spider-Man. And this guy, IT Guru, actually put the dash in, unlike Kip Davis, who does not know that there's a dash in Spider-Man. What a loser.
The Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I went and saw Spider-Man.
So as a general rule, DC heroes don't have a dash. Marvel heroes tend to.
Mm-hmm.
Put 125-pound scale of armor on your chest and walk around and see how many
Scale of
seconds
armor.
in battle.
All right, man.
In fact, that's the most amazing thing. I would take college-level soccer players who have a VO2 max of 60, probably the best in shape people who can run 6-minute miles all the day, and you put them in plate mail and chain mail and ask them to fight somebody. They have 3 minutes before they're spent.
Okay.
And does he not know about infantry rotation in formations? Like, you don't actually spend much time at the front of the formation. You spend a few minutes, and then, even if you're uninjured, you rotate to the back of the formation to keep your freshest fighters at the front. So 3 minutes
Clearly
is actually...
he knows how to train people in the theme of knighthood with all of this expert knowledge.
Like, look, I'm not some kind of military history buff who's all about the ancient warfare, but, like, I know basic things like that troop rotation in a formation is a thing. What is... I'm taking a drink. I'm taking a drink for Dan just doesn't know anything about any kind of historical military tactics, infantry fighting. Nope. Although I will say that infantry rotation in formations is one of the things that the Total War games do the worst at. If you were to take those games as historically accurate, you would just think that anyone at the front of a formation is just doomed to die, which is not actually how it works. Because who would agree to fight that way? Like, everyone would desert. I mean, you rotate people back.
It's like Magneto telling Juggernaut, in chess the pawns go first.
Yes. At least he had.
And you can actually see them follow up on this in Deadpool and Wolverine when the big battle starts. Juggernaut actually holds back for a little while before he jumps in. So good job.
You know what though? I feel like that the X-Men's Juggernaut should have actually been more like the comic Juggernaut in that sibling
just
of Professor
the massive
X,
mountain of a person with a,
but also not a mutant.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know this, in the comic books, Juggernaut is not a mutant. He's actually got divine powers of unstoppableness.
Sometimes you just have god powers. It's fine.
Yeah. Tree Clam Tat for $2 says, "This is my accountant, Earl Spiderman." I like it. Honestly, that would actually be a pretty cool name, is Spiderman. If I were to ever change my last name, I might change my name to Spiderman. I could be Timothy Spiderman.
And then be really, really pedantic when people say, "Oh, Spider-Man?" No, Spiderman.
Spiderman.
Do you see a hyphen there?
It's like that gag from 30 Rock, where there's Dr. Spaceman and his name is spelled Spaceman. Who gave you these drugs? It was Dr. Spaceman. And they find Dr. Spaceman.
Buffaloed Scientist says Inhumans also aren't mutants. They just have a weird gene that gives them powers, but only when you're exposed to weird gas.
Yeah, like Terrigene or something like that.
Terrigenous.
Also, your entire society is based on eugenics. And that's why the weird alt-righty guy who headed up Marvel for a little while tried to replace the mutants with the Inhumans.
Yeah, Megan Fox's giant boobs. He's the avatar of Cyttorak. Or Satoric, depending on how you pronounce it, but yeah.
Yeah.
The Crimson Bands of Satoric.
Josh McGee's for $5 says, Dan talking about people being spent in 3 minutes, not helping himself out here with the mock.
Yeah, that's a bit generous, don't you think?
Jessica Transmetal Alchemist for $5 due says, some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
I'm willing to make.
And it did say
Mhm.
pause for comedic timing, but I chose to actually pause rather than to just read out
Follow
the
the
pause.
stage directions.
Yeah, actually, I have a
Yeah.
special. So, in my scripts, stage directions that I give myself are always in brackets. That's how I know that I'm not supposed to read it in the script. It's just for me. So, like,
Mhm.
if I need to have like forced laughter, or if I need to know that like my tone is supposed to be sarcastic here, brackets.
Also, Dapper, you do need to catch up on X-Men 97.
Okay. I don't disagree. I think I should. I also never think of it. So like, bug me. Just
You
poke
know
me.
I can and will.
Yeah, that's why I said to do it.
Like they're pulling some deep cuts out of the
I know. Who did they have
X-Men
recently?
lore here.
Who did they have most recently that was a super deep cut? You sent it to me. But I
Oh
can't
God,
remember.
I mean, well, I don't know if this is a spoiler though.
All right, well then don't say it if it's a spoiler.
Completely spent.
Okay.
Because your adrenaline's going, you're wearing 25 pounds worth of armor if you just have plate mail on. Every time you swing your sword, you got to collect that
Just
energy
25.
and come back to the other direction.
Wherever my brother
so-
is right now, he's like 25.
Right?
Like their packs in the infantry when he was in the army were way more than that.
He means 125, but
Okay.
Tree Clam Tad says, okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Georgia. Yeah, that is
Okay,
basically how my
Georgia.
my streams sometimes go. Also, my goodness, have you seen the Georgia Purdom videos?
Not all of them, no.
So the most recent one, which was actually mostly voiced by Chesh, thank you, Chesh. Georgia basically says that like, oh hey, if you gain the ability to metabolize this thing, but didn't lose the ability to metabolize this thing, then that's not actually a gain of function. That's a loss of specificity. And it's like, I don't even know. Like it's you're just lying to people. There's no way to take
What?
that seriously. That's why I
Her
put a
degree
clown
should be
over her face.
revoked.
It should.
It really should.
All right, but also, here we are at basically the top of the hour, which means it is more or less time for us to get out of here. So I am going to write down that we got to 33:01, which means we got through 10 and a half minutes of this, which for us is pretty decent, I gotta say.
Even with all the side
Yeah,
tangents and whatnot.
yeah. No, that's true. Which, by the way, I do want to actually tell the story of how it came to be that Chesh voiced that video. So basically, at one point, I had finished the script, and I was just chatting with Chesh, which is a thing I do sometimes. I was like, oh, I gotta record audio, but I don't wanna. And she was like, well, let me do it. I was like, do you actually want to do that for my script? And she was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And so I sent her the script, and then she recorded the wrong script. And then I had to say, no, that's the wrong one. You have to start with part 3. The last part of the script. I was like, really? Like, yeah. So then she recorded 2 versions of the script. And if you're a channel member, the raw audio of Chesh attempting to read the script that's in that video is up on my channel. So if you want to hear Chesh, all of her bloopers, all of her serial attempts to pronounce words that never actually complete with an actual appropriate pronunciation for a word. If you want to hear all of her expletive interjections into the script when she gets pissed at me, or the time that she had to try to parse out the Klingon that was in the script that was just for me that she volunteered for anyway, it's there. So like, it's pretty fun. Anyway, all right. Vishant, do you have anything coming up you want to tell people about? That sounds like a no. Or it looks like a no.
Yeah,
That's fine. All right. So what's coming up here on this channel, and for me generally? So later on today, over on Debate Hub, I can't remember the time, but we're doing Debate Pub, which is our sort of current events newsy type show. And I think that Danny McInnes might be on there to talk more about the situation with the Sobolevas, which is the family from that video I was talking about. Light in the Ignorance for $2 says Mars is hiding the good shot. AIG's a bag of dicks. Mars is hiding a lot, actually. But I'll update that. So let's see. That's later on today. Double check Debate Hub to figure out exactly when. In fact, you should all be subscribed to Debate Hub. because we are trying to get together a nice, like, debate platform that isn't going to host Nazis, which I feel like is a low bar, but apparently it's a bar that some prominent debate platforms can't meet. So yeah, check that out. Then on Tuesday, we should be back for Kent with Bent at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Then on Thursday, I believe I have a supercut coming out, but let me double check. What do I have scheduled? Let's see. Yes, it is the premiere of the Canadian Homework video. It is going to be super, super long. I don't remember exactly how long. 6 hours and 50 minutes is how long that video is for Thursday. It's starting at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So bring snacks. No, just bring 2 meals. That is 2 meals worth of time. Bring a lunch and have a dinner prepared so that you can go make it and come back, because it's almost a 7-hour video. I can't even guarantee that I'm going to be there for all of it, because it's going to last until not long before I usually go to bed, basically. Well, okay, I'll only have a few extra hours. Yeah, it is a 7-hour video. Tree Clam Tad says Debate Hub has no Nick Fuentes has a no Nick Fuentes policy. Yes, it does. Nick Fuentes is already pre-banned from that place. So yeah. Get ready for the 7-hour video.
What's the icon next up from Diamond on your channel membership?
I don't actually remember, but I based it on the ranks from Duolingo because I didn't know what else to do. So
okay,
yeah. Let's see.
I just need to know how many more I have to go, because mine's like all diamondy colored now. So
I might have to even go in and update them, because I think a few more like tiers of like how long you've been here have updated, and I don't think I have actual models for them, or sprites for them, whatever.
okay.
So then on Friday at 5 p.m., the plan is for us to be back on Star Trek Adventures with the episode that you just saw, The Shepherd. And that show features me, Chesh, Craig from FTFE, Jordan from Reason to Doubt, Zeralon, Tirirana, whom you might see in chat here, and also from For Cozy Cat's Game for Zeralon. It's got Manya now. Kip has had to exit out, but we got Manya in, so if you like Manya, who brings a lot of chaotic energy to the channel. She's got a lot of chaos going on, and I like that because sometimes it gets a little bit too stodgy. Anyway, that'll be at 5 p.m. Pacific on Top Hats Off, and then of course Saturday, the plan is to pick up here, 33 minutes in, with more Dan Biddle talking about all the times that he was training miners of different sizes, which I don't really like. But anyway, if you're interested, we're going to be watching 1 episode of Star Trek over on the Discord. Not 2, because I want to have a little bit of a break between all this stuff and going on Debate Hub. So, yeah. If you're interested, we're going to be watching Star Trek Enterprise. So, come hang out. All right. With that, the last thing we have to say here is that ICE must be abolished. And goodbye, everybody. Next time. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovand, Tapioca Weasel, The Plastic Mouse, Mikhail Dominiak, Sphincter of Doom, Regios, Landon Knoll, Eleron Teller, Phil Rivera, David Hercules, Joshua Geese, Dan Sheedy, Pega Jace, Arrow Dodger, Gordon Love Science, Ember Athelian, Prixie Purple, Agricola Sequa, Me, Myself, and I, Ian Kiambi, Kenneth Swenson, Max Cherry, and John Ackerman. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 15% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.